All right, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're traveling back in time, back to December 2nd, 1804.
Ooh, a good one.
It is a good one. Picture this. You're at Notre Dame Cathedral.
Okay.
It's Napoleon Bonaparte's coronation. But, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
This isn't just some ceremony with, fancy clothes and a shiny crown. We've got excerpts from a text all about this event.
Right.
And trust me, it gets really interesting. We're talking power, ambition, a revolution about to make a dramatic shift.
You're absolutely right. This moment, this coronation, it was the culmination of years of planning. I mean, think about it. Here's a man, he rises from, relative obscurity to become first consul of France.
Yeah.
He brought stability after all the chaos of the French Revolution.
Right.
But that was just the beginning for him.
Looking back, it's almost unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
From military leader to basically running the entire show in just a few years.
It's incredible.
And our source material, it really lays out how strategic Napoleon was every step of the way.
Exactly. And it highlights everything. It highlights his reforms, how he uses those plebiscites, to get the public support.
Right.
And then declaring himself first consul for life.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the guy was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
Yeah.
Always had his eyes on the next prize, the next level.
And that next level, that was emperor, of course.
Of course.
But the question is why? Why emperor? Why not just, be content with all the power he already had?
Okay, so Napoleon, he understood something that a lot of people didn't. Consul. It just lacked the historical weight, the weight of emperor.
Oh, okay.
It's all about establishing a dynasty, a legacy that stretches beyond just one person's lifetime. He was building something permanent.
So rubbing shoulders with all the kings and queens of Europe.
Yes.
Making France like a major player on the world stage again. That was all part of the plan.
Exactly. Becoming emperor, it put Napoleon on equal footing with all the other great powers.
Okay.
It was a message. France is back, and they've got a leader who demands respect on the world stage.
But he wasn't just forcing this on people, was he? I mean, our source mentions that he actually had a pretty good chunk of the public on his side.
Yeah, that's right.
Supporting him.
Well, the plebiscite of 1804, it did show overwhelming support for the empire.
Okay.
Now, how much of that was genuine public support and how much was, shall we say, encouraged is up for debate.
Yeah.
Napoleon was a true master of propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
A true spin doctor, if you will.
Okay, so we've got the power, the ambition, and at least the appearance of public approval.
Right.
Now comes the main event, right?
Yeah,
the coronation.
The coronation.
But what I find fascinating is how Napoleon uses this ceremony to send a very specific message.
Absolutely. Every detail, every single detail was meticulously planned, starting with the location.
Oh, right. Choosing Notre Dame, ditching that traditional Reims cathedral.
Yeah.
It was a pretty bold move. It seems like Napoleon was making a statement right from the start.
Exactly. Choosing Notre Dame, the heart of Paris, this was a deliberate break. A break from that Bourbon monarchy tradition.
Yeah.
He was signaling a new era, a new France, with him at the helm, leading the way.
And then there's the whole thing with the Pope, too.
Oh, yeah.
Inviting the Pope, right, to bless the ceremony, but making it very clear who was really in charge.
Right.
What a power play.
It was genius.
What was Napoleon's game here?
Okay, so he was walking a tightrope,
Yeah.
Napoleon, he understood the importance of the church, the importance of the church's blessing, that divine right to rule, but he wasn't about to be overshadowed.
Yeah.
Bringing Pope Pius VII to Paris, that was brilliant.
Okay.
It gave the event religious legitimacy without giving the Pope any real authority.
Oh, I see.
It was all about control. Sending that message to everyone. I'm the one calling the shots now.
I'm the one calling the shots.
Exactly.
So the ceremony itself.
Yes.
This is where things get really interesting.
This is it.
The whole thing must have been incredible. The music, the decorations, that guest list.
Oh, yeah.
It's like something out of a movie. Were there any specific moments that really stand out?
Well, it was designed to awe, to inspire. But beneath all the pomp and circumstance, two key moments truly defined this coronation.
Okay, let's dish. I've heard whispers about a self-crowning.
Oh, yes.
What's the story there?
Okay, so picture this. The music swells, everyone's eyes are on Napoleon, the Pope is holding the crown. And then Napoleon takes the crown from the Pope and places it on his own head.
Wait, he just took it.
It just...
Talk about a mic drop moment.
Oh, the audacity of it. This sent shockwaves through Europe. It was a symbolic rejection of the traditional power structures, a statement that his authority came not from the church,
but from the people.
From the people.
And from his own ambition.
Wow. I can only imagine the gasps in that cathedral.
I know, right.
And then, to top it all off,
he
crowns Josephine Empress.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Elevating Josephine, it cemented that image, the image of a Bonaparte dynasty, a lasting legacy.
Wow.
This wasn't just a man becoming emperor. It was the birth of an empire with Napoleon and Josephine at its heart.
That's a level of ambition most people can only dream of. But this was just the beginning, and how Napoleon's coronation changed the game, both in France and for the rest of Europe, well, that's what we'll explore next.
Well, for France, the coronation, it signified the official end, the end of the Republic, all those revolutionary ideals.
Right.
The hope for a government truly by and for the people, well, they were kind of swept aside in favor of an imperial regime.
Yeah.
It's a pretty stark contrast.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
You've got this guy, Napoleon. He rises to prominence during the revolution.
Embodies his energy, that drive for change, and then he dismantles the very system that propelled him to power in the first place.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It's a paradox.
Yeah.
It really is.
A fascinating paradox.
And it wasn't just symbolic either, Napoleon's coronation. It brought tangible changes to French society.
How so?
He established a new elite.
Right.
A meritocracy, you know, where people could rise based on their talent, their loyalty, not just their family name.
So even someone from humble beginnings, they could climb the ladder, become a duke or a baron based on what they accomplished, not who their parents were.
Precisely. That's a huge shift from the old aristocratic system where your birth determined your destiny.
Right.
Imagine the impact on people's aspirations, the possibilities that this opened up. Of course, there's always another side to every story.
Right.
While this meritocracy created opportunities for some, it also consolidated Napoleon's power. This new elite, well, they owed their position directly to him.
Right.
Which, of course, just bolstered his authority.
It's a classic move, isn't it? Reward loyalty, secure your position. But let's not forget about the ripple effect beyond France's borders.
Right.
Napoleon wasn't exactly known for, keeping things low-key.
You're right. The empire's ambitions, well, they extended far beyond France.
Yeah.
The other European powers, they saw Napoleon's coronation as a direct threat.
Yeah.
They knew he wouldn't be content with just ruling France.
Yeah.
This was a man who really thrived on conquest and expansion.
So it was like this unspoken challenge, almost like a shift in the balance of power.
You got it.
Did this tension directly contribute to the Napoleonic Wars?
Absolutely. Napoleon's coronation, it was essentially a declaration of intent.
Okay.
It signaled a new era of French dominance,
a
challenge to the existing order, and it set the stage for years of conflict. As those other powers, they sought to contain Napoleon's ambitions.
It's amazing how one single event can have such a domino effect.
Yeah.
Redrawing the map of Europe,
yeah,
shaping the course of history. And we've talked about the political and international impact.
Right.
But I'm curious about the kind of the human element.
Yeah.
How did ordinary people react to all of this?
Right.
Did they buy into Napoleon's vision, or were they more skeptical?
Well, as you can imagine, reactions were mixed. In France, there was definitely a sense of national pride,
okay,
especially among those who benefited from Napoleon's reforms and military victories.
Right.
They saw him as a strong and decisive leader who brought stability and glory to France after years of turmoil.
It makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, he ended the chaos of the revolution and established a sense of order,
right,
that would resonate with a lot of people.
But there were also those who, well, they yearned for those ideals of the Republic, for liberty, equality. They saw the empire as a betrayal of those principles, as a step back towards authoritarian rule.
It's like this age-old tension, isn't it? This desire for stability and then this longing for freedom.
It is.
It seems like a choice every generation has to grapple with. And what about the rest of Europe? How did they view this new emperor on the block?
With a mixture of fear and apprehension for the most part.
Yeah.
The European monarchies saw Napoleon as a dangerous upstart.
Oh, okay.
A revolutionary who threatened to overturn, centuries of tradition and power structures.
So Napoleon's coronation, it kind of drew a line in the sand.
It did.
It was him and his supporters versus the old guard of European powers.
Right.
That's a recipe for conflict, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This clash of ideologies and ambitions, well, that was a major driving force behind the Napoleonic Wars. And those wars, they had a profound and lasting impact on Europe, redrawing borders, toppling monarchies, igniting nationalist movements that would continue to shape the continent for generations to come.
Wow. Talk about a ripple effect. It's like throwing a stone into a pond and just watching the waves spread outward.
Right.
And we can see how Napoleon's coronation set in motion forces that are still relevant even today.
It's a fascinating example, of how a single event can trigger a cascade of consequences.
Yeah.
Both intended and unintended. But let's not forget about the man at the center of it all, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Right.
He was a complex and contradictory figure,
Yeah.
a product of his time, and yet someone who profoundly shaped his era.
That's what makes history so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
These larger-than-life figures.
Yeah.
They're both brilliant and flawed,
Right.
driven by ambition, this desire to leave their mark on the world.
It's true.
So as we're kind of wrapping up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
how do we reconcile the good with the bad when it comes to Napoleon's legacy?
Right.
I mean, he's often hailed as a military genius, a reformer,
Right.
but he was also an emperor who waged these devastating wars.
That's the question, isn't it? That's the question historians continue to debate. There's no denying Napoleon's brilliance.
Right.
I mean, as a military strategist,
Yeah.
he modernized France, implemented these lasting legal reforms, and spread those revolutionary ideas across Europe.
Yeah.
He was a force to be reckoned with.
But he also had a darker side,
Yeah.
right? His ambition, I mean, it ultimately led to countless lives lost in those Napoleonic wars.
Yeah, it's true.
And let's not forget about, his authoritarian tendencies.
Right.
Crushing dissent, consolidating power in his own hands.
Exactly. A man of contradictions, driven by a thirst for glory and a belief in his own destiny.
Yeah.
It's this complexity that makes him such a compelling figure, to study.
Yeah.
He embodies the best and worst of human nature, all in one.
So after diving into Napoleon's story, his life, his rise, his fall, what are we left with? What's the takeaway? What can we learn from his ambition, his successes, and ultimately his failures?
I think, his coronation and really his life in general, it serves as a powerful reminder that even seemingly insignificant events, they can have a ripple effect across generations,
Yeah.
It encourages us to look beyond simple narratives, to consider different perspectives,
Right.
to see how one man's ambition can reshape the map of Europe for better or worse.
It's a reminder that history isn't just about, dates and battles.
Right.
It's about choices, consequences, this constant push and pull between power and freedom. It makes you wonder, if you were alive back then, would you have been swept up in the fervor of the empire, or would you have been one of the dissenters, yearning for the republic's ideals?
It's a fascinating thought experiment, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
easy to judge,
Yeah.
judge historical figures from our modern perspective. But it's important to remember the context, the pressures, and the choices they faced, in their time.
Exactly. And I think we can learn so much from history,
Oh, absolutely.
both the triumphs and the tragedies. And in the case of Napoleon, there's no shortage of either, right?
Yeah.
He rises to incredible heights only to fall pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
His story it's a cautionary tale about the intoxicating allure of power.
Right.
It's the danger of unchecked ambition.
It also raises questions about legacy.
Oh, yeah.
What do we want to be remembered for?
Right.
What impact do we want to have on the world?
Yeah.
Napoleon, for all his faults, he left, an indelible mark on
Yeah.
history. His story continues to fascinate and challenge us even centuries later.
That's the beauty of history, isn't it? It's a conversation that never really ends.
It's true.
We keep learning, reinterpreting, and drawing new insights from the past.
Yeah.
And in the case of Napoleon, I think there's still so much to uncover,
Yeah.
so many layers to peel back.
Absolutely. We've only scratched the surface in this deep dive,
Yeah.
There are countless books, articles, primary sources out there waiting to be explored. And as you delve deeper into this fascinating period,
Right.
I encourage you to keep asking questions, challenge assumptions, and be open to, to new perspectives.
Well said. And remember, history, it isn't just something that happened long ago, right?
Yeah.
It shapes who we are.
Absolutely.
The world we live in, the choices we make, even today.
It does.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll uncover a piece of history that changes your own perspective. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Napoleon's coronation.